I'm Jess, this is Let's Break It Down. This is a show where I basically do your English homework for you and I give you plot points, a basic summary, and then discussion topics to bring up during class to make it seem like you actually read the book. We finished our first text a couple weeks ago with Antigone, and so that book's closed, and now we open up our next one, which will be Romeo and Juliet. Everyone knows the story already, but you don't really know exactly what it is that English teachers need you to know. So that's kind of where I come in, to fill in those gaps. So between all of the movies that are out and then this video, you guys will be totally set. Here's some things that you need to know before you start reading Romeo and Juliet. So number one is people died super early in Shakespearean days. So it was very common for people to get married and around 12 to 16 for girls. Boys could go up to 18. A lot of Shakespearean work appealed to both rich and poor people because those would be the people who come and see his shows. The poorer people would be standing up front closer to the stage and not ever get a place to sit, while all the rich people would be up in their high-ass booths being all fancy. So in Romeo and Juliet specifically, important characters speak in verses, which the more rich people who could afford to be highly educated would be able to understand. All of the not as important characters would speak in prose, which the common people would understand, and they are also the people who would be the jokesters of it. And even though this is a tragedy, there's still elements of comedy in it just to keep everyone engaged. The final thing that you need to know is that the Capulets and Montagues are the two families that are fighting, as if you don't know that already. For some reason, they were super rich, and rich people in those times could afford to have armies fight for them, which is ridiculous. Alright, starting off with the summary. The whole play starts out just saying everything that's going to happen, and this guy comes in and he's like, so the Montagues and the Capulets are fighting and Romeo and Juliet die, let's start. Then all of a sudden this Capulet army guy comes in and he's flicking off Montague, and the Montagues are just like, if you can bite your thumb at me, which is the equivalent of being flicked off, then you can catch these hands. And then they fight and it's all bloody, and the prince comes in after the whole thing is done and he's like, this is ridiculous, I'm tired of people dying. And he calls in Capulet, which is the head of the house. I'm pretty sure he did have a name before this, but no one really knows what it was. And then he calls Montague in too, and they come in with their wives, and he's like, you guys need to stop. This is seriously ruining the town vibe, and I've worked hard to curate these vibes. So they're both like, whatever. And Lady Montague is just, I don't really care what you're saying. Where's my son? And then everyone just kind of clears off, and Romeo enters. And then his best friends Benvolio and Mercutio come up to him, and they asked him what's wrong, because Romeo's kind of like, he's just kind of coming in all sulky and sad. The love of my life is gonna become a nun. And all of his friends do the best job that they can to just kind of comfort him. Hey man, there are other fish in the sea. Don't worry about it. She wasn't that hot anyway. And then they overhear these people talk about the party of the Capulets that night, which is a whole masquerade ball. And Rosaline, which is the alleged love of his life, is a Capulet, she's a cousin of him. So he's like, yo, so since my lady love is going, maybe I can convince her not to become a nun. So they all decide we're gonna sneak into this function. While all this is happening, Lady Capulet goes up to her daughter Juliet and she's just like, hey girl, I got you a hot husband. And Juliet's nurse, which is just her nanny, is like, yo, I want to see you get married. I am going off about this. And Juliet's just like, okay, I don't really care. As long as you're happy, I'll marry a hot guy, I guess. The party starts. Romeo is just still moping. I'm just so sad. Tybalt, which is one of the Capulet's cousins, Tybalt's just this huge asshole, and he immediately runs up to Capulet, who's throwing the party, and he's like, Romeo's here. It's a Montague. I need to kill him. Capulet's like, okay, gross, but he's fine of all of the Montagues, and the prince is already mad at us, so let's just have a party. Romeo's just kind of running around, sulking, being sad. Then all of a sudden he looks up and he sees Juliet, and he's just like, yo, Rosaline, who? I gotta talk to her. And they start talking, and Juliet's like, who is this? I don't know who you are. And Romeo just kisses her hand. He's like, I'm the best thing that's ever happened to you, bae. And she's like, oh, really? And then they kiss, and she's like, oh, really? Yeah, okay, yeah. You're a really good kisser. The nurse comes in, yo, Juliet, go to your mom. She's looking for you. And Romeo's like, whoa, wait, what? Who's her mom? oh, it's Lady Capulet's her mom. And he's just like, oh, that sucks, but I'm still gonna go see her though because she's hot. So Romeo goes off into the brush and he's like, I'm gonna go find her room. This isn't creepy. And he finds her and she's just on her balcony and she's like, Romeo, why the hell are you a Montague? This whole thing fucking sucks. I just want to kiss you. And since it's really old in times, I can't really have sex with you unless we get married, so let's get married. And he runs out of the bushes like, yo, I'm in. She's like, oh, what? Really? Do you actually want to get married? I'd be down. And he's like, yeah, this sounds like the best idea I've ever had. I love you more than anyone I've ever loved in my life. Even your cousin. Don't listen to that part. Juliet's like, okay, I'll see you at 9. I'll send someone off to see when we're actually gonna get married. Love you, bye. The next day comes and Romeo immediately is like at the church gates waiting for his best friend in the whole world, Friar Lawrence. Hey, I want to get married right now. And Friar Lawrence is like, Rosaline's literally becoming a nun, so you need to chill out. And he's like, no, I'm gonna get married to Juliet. Oh, the Capulet's daughter? I don't really think that's the best idea that you've ever had. I'm gonna do it anyway. I'll find a different priest. Friar Lawrence is like, I don't want another priest taking credit for calming down this feud. Let's do it. 9 o'clock rolls around and Juliet, you know, she said she'd send someone, and so she sends the nurse. Benvolio and Mercutio are like, yo, you're ugly. Oh my god, she's so ugly. And the nurse is just like, who is this? I'm literally giving my baby away to you. No, I don't want this to happen. Romeo ends up being like, yo, I'm really sorry about them. I love Juliet. And nurse is like, I believe you. I'm totally fine with this. Romeo's like, okay, nurse, like tell Juliet we're gonna get married tonight. Meet me at Friar Lawrence's place. So then Romeo and Juliet get secretly married. They can't consummate the marriage yet. Consummation means they fucked. So the next day, Tybalt, dickhead extraordinaire, comes out. I heard you were at my party yesterday, Romeo. Where are you at? And then his friends are like, well, he's not here. Well, he's usually with you, so I'll wait. Romeo rolls in like, hey fam, I mean Tybalt. What's up? We're not actually we are family, but you don't know. Tybalt's like, fight me, you little bitch. No, I'm not gonna do that, but then Tybalt just kind of gets carried away and accidentally stabs Mercutio, and then Mercutio dies, like cursing both of their houses, like a plague on both your houses, is that whole thing. Romeo's just like, my friend just fucking died, you're an asshole, I'm gonna kill you. And so he kills Tybalt. And then the prince finds out, banishes Romeo. Before Romeo leaves, he's like, I'm gonna kill myself, and Friar Lawrence is like, don't worry, I'll fix this. Nurse comes up to Juliet like, bad news. Juliet's like, I'm so devastated that my cousin's dead and my husband is banished. Which one am I gonna be more sad about? My husband. My husband. Tybalt sucked. Nurse is like, don't worry, Juliet, it'll be fine. I'll get Romeo in here. You guys will consummate the marriage. It'll be a legitimate marriage. Don't worry about it. Nurse ends up pulling it off. And then Romeo and Juliet consummate the marriage. The next morning, Romeo sneaks out to go be banished. Juliet's mom, Lady Capulet, comes in. Hey, remember when I said you were gonna get married to that hot guy? Turns out that's happening in 3 days. And Juliet throws a fit. I don't want to marry Paris, which is his name. He's hot, but his dick isn't bomb like Romeo's is. Like, I can't tell you that though because you don't know I had sex because you don't know I got married. Nurse is like, hey girl, don't worry. Just like, pretend you didn't get married and just go with Paris. Let's just keep it a secret. Romeo's banished, dude. Like, he's not coming back. Juliet's like, fuck you, nurse. I'll go to Friar Lawrence. He understands me. This isn't a bad idea at all. Juliet just kind of turns to Friar Lawrence like, I will kill myself if I marry him. And Friar Lawrence is like, you and Romeo are definitely meant to be because you guys just keep throwing around the suicide thing like it's a joke. I'll fix this. I'm gonna give you the serum. You're gonna take it on the day of your wedding. You're gonna look dead. We're gonna give you a fake funeral. Romeo will come. You'll go off with Romeo. This will all be fine. No one tells Romeo. One person who should know about this plan just isn't told. Romeo's messenger comes from Verona. Here's the latest from your hometown. The weather is 70 degrees. Your mom's fine. Your wife's dead. And he's just like, my wife's fucking dead? I have to die now. So he goes and gets some poison. And that night, him and the messenger go to the Capulet death chamber. And Paris is there. Aren't you supposed to be banished? Romeo's like, aren't you supposed to be dead? And then he kills him. He kills himself, and Juliet, like, wakes up, and she's like, cool, time to go off with my... He's dead. Okay, I'm gonna kiss the poison off his lips, and then she stabs herself. The families find their kids dead, and they bring them to the prince, like, what happened here? Friar Lawrence comes forward, I fucked up. And the prince is like, this is what happens when families fight. The end. That was the moral of the stories, don't fight. So here's some discussion topics to bring up during class to make it seem like you actually read the book. You want to kind of look at Friar Lawrence's role as a character, like is he the villain? Is he the anti-hero? Is he the hero? Is he just like a bystander who like should not have been left with this decision? Was the nurse right to shove Juliet off about Romeo? And then just kind of ponder what the whole outcome would have been if she hadn't. Anything that you can do to just kind of challenge the narrative and like try to twist it in a different way, because the story has literally been twisted in every single way you can possibly fucking imagine, because this was made in the 1500s. That's Romeo and Juliet. Thanks for watching. If you head over to our Facebook page, I've posted links for helpful resource guides for reading Shakespeare. Good night, everybody. I'm tired.